All righty. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the
Hey,
ninth
hey,
episode
hey,
of Doug's
Danny.
DugOut.
I'm not getting any video.
Oh, hold on. There you go. Sorry about
There
that,
we are.
Doug.
There we go.
Hey, so everybody, welcome to this ninth episode of Doug's DugOut. And in the house today, we've got Mr. Doug Blunt. He's the Apple guru of gurus, the baseball guru, the e bike guru, and the swimming guru all at once. Hey, Doug, welcome back.
Hey, hey, Danny. Glad to be back. Trying to keep cool down here in South Texas. Hard to do.
I know, right? It's like 100 degrees outside.
We've been we've been looking at YouTube videos of parks in Minnesota. So when we go up there in 2 weeks, we can, it's up there. It's like 72 degrees up there right now.
Wow, that's pretty
Yeah,
cool. You'll be able to wear
yeah,
shorts comfortably over there, you know?
yeah. I mean, you have to put pants on. First time I put pants on in 2 years, I think. No, I put them on around Christmas time.
Oh my gosh. So
I
what's
think our
going
Apple event, circle this on your calendar. I think the Apple event's going to be September the 12th.
September the 12th. All
Yeah.
right. I'll have to check things
They
out.
haven't announced it yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
They haven't announced it yet, but that's what it looks like.
All right. We'll have to prep for that. September the
Hmm.
12th. Is it going to be another kind of event over at the theater, at the Apple, the Steve Jobs Theater, or where's it going to be at?
They haven't announced it, but I think the cat's out of the bag now. They're only going to do videos now.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think they'll invite, the tame press into the Steve Jobs Theater
Yeah.
so they can show them the phones. But I think for us rank and file, I think it's all going to be,
Video.
it's going to be the video, which is, they've got that down pat. So,
Yeah. Does
it's,
Laporte
and,
does
they can
Laporte end up
tape that
going
in
to one of
advance.
those? Does Laporte end up getting invited to one of those or no?
Not, never has. Not
Wow.
since it's, not, but about 20 years ago, he streamed that iPad event, right?
Yeah.
With his laptop. And they've never invited him back. But there's a couple people on his network that get invited. Jason Snell.
Yeah.
He goes every event.
Wow.
Okay, and then there's a guy on there from Kansas City. I forget the guy's name, but that works for Leo. He got to go at WWDC.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, so
Well, I don't think
no,
Laporte's going to be invited to any Twitter events.
probably not. He sends Jason Howe down there. Jason Howe's his Twitter guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but anyway.
Anyway, so
Uh,
what's new in the MLB this week?
well, the Cardinals were playing Kansas City. Battling it out for the worst team in baseball, and um, there was a wild game Friday night, and the Cardinals they lost. Well, Wainwright pitched, and they scored like 9 runs off of him in the first inning,
Yeah.
so they yanked him out. And I guess they figured the game was gone, but they battled their way back. And I turned the game off, because I was doing something else. Actually, I was watching reruns of The Wire on HBO,
Wow.
and then I turned, I flipped back and forth, and it got up to like 8-6. And I go, holy shit, what's going on here? And then it finally ended at 10-8, I think, at the end of the game.
Wow.
But they,
Wow.
the Cardinals, they scored eight runs and they still lost.
Yeah.
Okay, and then last night they played Kansas City and they got some pretty good pitching from Matz, who hasn't pitched well. Well, he's pitched good the last month or so,
Right.
last 6 weeks, and so they won. They won that game, and then there was a couple games last week that they got some decent pitching. The offense is not the problem. I looked at some statistics the other day, and the Cardinals offensively are about third or fourth in the league.
Right.
Atlanta being number one
Right.
offensively, and the Cardinals like four, yeah, maybe fourth or five. It's got a team average of 257, which is pretty good these days.
Right.
But we just can't get any pitching.
Wow. Wow.
which kind of baffles me because we didn't have any pitching before, and everybody said that we needed pitching, but then we traded away our two best starters.
Yeah.
Flaherty and Jordan and what's his name, Montgomery,
Yeah.
and then a pretty decent relief pitcher. So I don't know what they got. I think it all comes down to payroll. To tell
Now,
you the
where did
truth,
Montgomery go to?
he went to the Rangers.
Oh my gosh, they snatched him.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
snatched him. Yeah, they
How old?
yeah.
How old was Montgomery?
He's like 30 years old.
Oh, okay, he wasn't that old. I thought, well, maybe they were getting rid of him because of his age or something.
No, no. I mean, he's in his prime,
Wow.
and he knows it, and he knows it, and his agent knows it.
Yeah.
So he's a free agent, so he's going to try to get one of those once in a lifetime contracts.
Right.
I don't think he'll get the huge money, but I think he'll get probably maybe 15 to 20 million a year over the next 5 years.
How much was he making over with the Cardinals? Do you know?
I think he was making about 7 million
Wow. So I wonder
because
how much the Rangers
because
are
he
paying
came
him.
from the Yankees. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he'll be making the same amount of money with the Rangers.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But he started out with the Yankees,
Uh huh.
and we traded Harrison Bader for him last year, and he come over. He did a decent job, but I mean, yeah, I think he was making like 7 million, and because he'd been around for a little while, he had like a 7 year veteran,
Yeah.
and then so he was getting Yankee money, right?
Yeah.
And and then this year, he had a contract, and his contract's in it, and so the Rangers have simply picked up his contract for the rest of the year.
Okay. So basically, in most trades, they're just traded away, but there's no extra money involved.
Well, there's some deals that are made, like we'll trade, I think DeYoung, we traded him away. He was a Cardinal shortstop. We traded him to Toronto, and he was making 11 million a year. And the Cardinals said, okay, we'll pay his contract till the end of the year because his option was up at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Okay, so sometimes the teams they pay the contract, and some teams they don't.
Wow.
You know, but I think no, I think the Rangers probably picked up the 7 million. What's left of the 7 million?
So what you're
Because
saying
we're
is these trades that
three
the card
quarters away.
So what you're saying is these trades that the Cardinals did were basically because of performance. They weren't necessarily because of money, right?
Quite the contrary. I think it was more money than it was anything else, because
Okay.
Flaherty was a free agent.
Okay.
He's at the end of the year, and he was making like maybe 5 to 6 million. I have to look it up. But he was a free agent, and they knew that he's pitching good.
Uh huh.
Okay, and so they knew that they were going to have to pay him some money
Yeah.
at the end of the year when they go to negotiation, because they could extend his contract.
Uh huh.
You see, and then him and his agent, they couldn't get together with the Cardinals. So the Cardinals says, "Hey, we can't sign him, so we might as well trade him away and get something for him."
Yeah.
So they got a couple minor league ball players, and same situation with Montgomery. Free agent at the end of the year. They get a couple minor. They got pitchers for him. Not their high. Some of them were like maybe 10 or 15th on their minor league, top level people.
Right.
Um, but most of them were not that great.
Yeah.
Okay, and then there was another pitcher named Stratton. Okay, Stratton pitched good for the Cardinals. We got him from Pittsburgh last year about this time, and he pitched good this year. He's a reliever, middle reliever. He pitched good, but he was a free agent too,
Uh huh.
and he was only making about 3 million,
Oh wow.
something like that, and he was going to be a free agent. So they dumped him and got a couple more pitchers, and then a week before all this happened, there was a pitcher called Genesis Cabrero. He was a Cuban
Yeah.
that they just first what they did, they gave him what they call DFA. designated for assignment. Basically, you're they you're out. They
Wow.
just terminate you.
Wow.
Okay, but then about 2 days later, they trade into Toronto, and they
Wow.
got a couple more pitchers, but not top run, not top prospects.
Wow. Wow.
So we got really actually we got and Dennis Cabrera was at one time was one of our top relief pitchers. Okay, he had some bad luck, but he pitched good last year,
Yeah.
and he just and they just they he had some attitude problems with him.
Uh,
You know he he wanted to keep on pitching, and the manager come out and said, "Get out of the game. We're going to bring another guy." And he kind of threw a fit one day, and
oh wow.
a little hot tempered. But Latin ball players have a tendency to be a little bit hot tempered. And Cubans,
Yeah.
and so that's just part of the game there. And and then they finally he lost a little bit of he lost a lot of he lost some velocity,
Right.
and so they finally just cut him.
Wow.
But he was a free agent. But see, he had gone to arbitration the year before over the winter, and he lost his arbitration case, and he thought he ought to be making more money, and
Yeah.
he was only making about 1 million.
Oh, just a million.
Okay, just $1 million. Okay, but his I think he and the difference between the arbitration and what he wanted, what his agent wanted, was only about $60,000 or $80,000, and he lost
Wow.
that case, and he was kind of pissed about that.
Wow. Wow.
So he came to camp and he pitched pretty good for a while, and then finally, he started losing his velocity, and then they had that incident on the mound, and then they finally just got rid of him. But he
Wow.
got a couple pitchers. I don't think any of these pitchers are going to, we got like maybe 6 or 8 pitchers. I don't think any of them are going to do anything.
Wow. Wow.
There's a guy named King they got. The guy, I think they got him from Toronto. He just, he's on the roster. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
And, but, we were down to hardly any pitchers at all because we lost 2 starters, right?
Right.
And then, so they brought up Libator that we got in a trade for Ozuna about 4 years ago, and he was Libator was like a rookie in minor league and high prospect, okay,
Yeah.
and he's been back and forth from St. Louis to Memphis for the last 2 years. Looks like he pitched really good the other night. He pitched like 8 innings, didn't allow any runs and 2 hits and all that. So it looks like he may stay up now.
Yeah.
And then there was another pitcher. Matz has pitched good, and
Yeah.
then Dakota Hudson, who is a young pitcher. Okay, he's been back and forth. In 2019, before the pandemic, he won 17 games for the Cardinals,
Wow.
and then he just went. You know, he lost it for like he had some injury problems, and he lost it for a year or two, and then he was like they called him like the human rain delay.
Yeah.
They called him the human rain delay because he would take so long between pitches.
Yeah.
Well, you can't do that now because you got a 20-second clock, right?
Right.
And so they said, hey, you got to speed up your game if you're going
Yeah.
to pitch baseball. And the minor leagues has had the 20-second clock for quite some time
Right.
because that's where they test this new stuff out. And so they sent him down to the minors, and he struggled down in Memphis, but then he's
Wow.
been up since the big trades. Well, he's pitched pretty decent.
Yeah.
So we got 3 starters. Meanwhile, Wainwright, poor Wainwright. I like Adam Wainwright, and everybody loves Adam Wainwright. He's been with the Cardinals for 20 years, and he's going to be. He might be definitely in the Cardinal Hall of Fame. Probably maybe in the real Hall of Fame. The big Hall of Fame.
Right.
But he hasn't pitched well all this year,
Wow.
and he got pounded the other night for 9 runs against Kansas City in the
Yeah.
first inning, and I think he's done.
Yeah.
He's 42 years old. You know,
Oh
he's
yeah.
lost his curveball, so
Yeah.
he never did. He hadn't had velocity in a long time, but he
Wow.
got by on his curveball, and So I think he's just done. I'd see him go that way. I'd like to see him go out like Albert did last year. But,
Right.
maybe he might win some games in September, but I don't think so. I think he's done. So I,
Oh,
I wouldn't be surprised they take him out of the starters and put him in the bullpen.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. But
Oh,
fans come to see him because they like Wainwright.
right.
And so he's a good guy. He's a good Christian, and he's got like 6 kids or 7 kids, and he does a lot of stuff in the community. Does a lot of stuff down in Latin America. Him and his wife, they run hospitals down in
Oh,
you
wow.
know Dominican Republic and places like that down there, and
Wow.
and so he's a good guy. He received the Roberto Clemente Award one year, and a good guy. But his skills have gone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he probably should have retired last year with
Yeah.
Albert and those
Yeah.
guys.
You probably should have, gone out with a bang.
Well, it's like just like everything else. We still think we all think we got 1 year left, right?
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
know that for a fact. Okay.
All right. Well, let's look at the standings across the league here. We'll go ahead and flip screens. All righty. So here we are. We've got our trusty virtual iPad up. And on the American League East, look at that. Croston's Baltimore is up on top. Were they second last week, or were they already on first place in the
No,
American
they've
League
been in
East?
first place. Yeah. With Baltimore, Flaherty, Jack Flaherty went to Baltimore in the trade
Right.
because they needed pitching, and he's pitched good for him,
Yeah.
and so he's doing well. The big news from Baltimore last week was their play-by-play guy.
Uh huh.
Okay, for Baltimore, they do the little pregame deal.
Right.
And he said, and he had graphics on the screen, and I mean, he had help putting it together. But they played every time they played the Tampa Bay team down at Tropicana Field down in Florida, they haven't won a game down there in 4 years.
Right.
Okay, and he said that they haven't, they've been cursed, and they've got jinx down there and all that, and the owner didn't like that.
Uh huh.
Okay, so they suspended him
Oh wow.
for saying that. It was not negative. It was not negative at all. He just stated the facts. He was doing his job,
Yeah.
and it was just a pregame deal. And he, I think his name's Peter Angelo, I think,
Yeah.
and he doesn't like any negative criticism of the Orioles. The
Okay.
owner doesn't. So he suspended him. We're going to fire his ass. We're going to fire him, right?
Wow.
And social media went nuts. YouTube and you know X, formerly known as Twitter,
Right.
okay, and Thread and all the rest of them. And he finally got reinstated.
Wow.
I think
Wow.
his last name is Brown. I think the kid's name's Brown. Good now. He sounded pretty good.
Yeah.
He, like I said, he didn't do anything negative. He just reported the facts, but
Right.
the owner didn't like it, so
Yeah. Well, a lot
they
of times
suspended
nobody
him.
wants to hear the truth.
Looks like Baltimore's for real. Look like I think they may win it
Yeah.
in that division
And then of
unless they
course
fall apart in September.
they've got Tampa Bay, right behind them, you know.
Yeah, Tampa Bay's pitching is a little suspect.
Yeah.
Cardinals played them earlier in the week, and I think we won 2 out of the 3 games. I think down there,
Yeah.
and not much on offense either.
Yeah.
They're going to have a hard time staying up there. I think Tampa Bay is, but their pitching is in question.
Wow. And then you've got Toronto in third place.
Yep.
Toronto.
Um,
And then
yep. Cardinals
Bal-
traded to Young. He went
yeah.
to, Bichette. Bo Bichette. He went out. Every time I hear that name, I think of Star Wars. Bo Bichette. I think of, you know, Star Wars character. Boba Fett. And anyway, he went down. He was having a great year. He went down with an injury. I and I think they needed a shortstop, so that's the reason why they traded for DeYoung.
Yeah.
DeYoung can help him a little bit. He's got some power. He's pretty good defensive shortstop. But I think Bichette will probably be back here in about a week or two. I saw the injury report. And he's recovering.
Wow. And then of
So they
course,
got they got a good chance of knocking off Tampa Bay there.
then you've got
But they're
Boston and
way
the
back.
Yankees at the bottom of the barrel there.
Boy, ain't that a shock? Breaks my heart, doesn't it?
Man, the
Yankees in last place.
Yankees. Yeah, that's unusual.
Yep.
And then on the American League Central, you've got Minnesota. They're up on top, and they're closely, you know, being chased by Cleveland.
Yeah, and we're gonna go. We got a family outing in Minnesota at Target Field, August the 27th.
Yeah,
It's Kids Day at the ballpark, so I'm finally going to be able to take my grandson to the ball game.
yeah,
Okay, and David and I are going. Grace is, I mean, Jason's going to go, and
yeah.
Taylor and Chris. Okay, and strawberry shortcake.
Yeah.
Taylor's pregnant, so she's got one in the oven.
Oh wow.
So strawberry, yeah. So strawberry shortcake. I call him, the baby's, it's like the size of a strawberry or something.
Right.
So I call him strawberry shortcake and
Yeah.
or blue belly Bill. Blueberry Bill. We don't know yet, and
Yeah.
we don't know what the sex is, and we're all gonna go. I got tickets already. I bought tickets earlier in the week.
Yeah. Well,
Yep,
that'll
got
be
them on my
fun.
phone.
Yeah. That'll be fun. The weather
Cost me
should be
about
good.
Yeah, it cost me about $141 for 5 people.
Wow, that's
Okay.
cheap. That is
Yeah,
cheap, Doug.
and the seats were in decent. Yeah, it's what they call the loge area. It's not behind third base dugout, but it's about the next tier up.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
so it's pretty decent tickets, I think.
yeah. Well, that's good. That'll
Yeah,
be fun.
yeah,
And then you've
yeah.
got Detroit in third place there in the league.
That's kind of a surprise. They're only what 7 games out,
Right.
7.5 games out. They got a chance of hitting that wild card team there,
Yeah.
um, but they're going to have to get hot. They're going to, I don't know if they got the mustard to do it. Detroit does.
Yeah. And then you've got
But
Kansas City at the bottom, of course. That hasn't changed all year, I don't
well,
think.
yeah, we need to talk about the Tim Anderson Ramirez deal on the Chicago White Sox.
Uh huh.
Okay, for those who don't know, okay, the White Sox have a shortstop. His name is Tim Anderson.
Uh huh.
And Tim Anderson has always been a really good ball player, okay, like all star and everything. And he is having a terrible year. It's
Yeah.
just terrible. He usually hits, I don't know, 15, 20 homers a year, okay, and he hasn't hit hardly, I think he hasn't hit any, maybe two or three at the most. And he's like close to 300 batting average, and he's hitting like 180 or something like that. It's just
Wow.
terrible. It's just terrible year. His defense sucks, all that kind of stuff. And they were playing Cleveland, and Cleveland's got a guy named Ramirez on it. I
Yeah.
think his name is Jose Ramirez. Well, there's a in the game about a week ago, and this was all over the social media stuff. Is it was a double play ball, and Ramirez slid into second base and was tagged out. And Anderson, when he went over to hit the base with his foot, well, he has stayed over at Ramirez, wouldn't let
Yeah.
him up from the base.
Oh
And
wow.
Ramirez says, "Hey, how about you let me up, okay?"
Yeah.
And then he finally let him up, and then Ramirez and said something to Anderson, and Anderson's always been kind of a hothead anyway, and so Anderson said something to Ramirez, and then Anderson took a swing. I think Anderson started it. He took a swing to Ramirez,
Oh wow.
and Ramirez ducked, and then Anderson did one of these things,
Wow.
like he was freaking Mike Tyson or somebody.
Yeah.
And Ramirez came up and just cold cocked him like that, knocked him on his butt.
Wow.
Okay, and then all the team, the both benches erupted. They came out on the field, and there was some there was some scuffling and some tackling, and some players
Wow.
went down, and one player got hurt, and, you know, and the managers got into it, and it was a big scuffle.
Wow.
And I think, yeah, yeah, and it was pretty funny. There's a podcaster named John Boy. He's on uh, YouTube,
Yeah.
and he always has the commentary. He's pretty funny. He
Yeah.
was always saying some stuff. Yeah, but that was so funny. Tim Anderson was going like that. Was going to fight him. Ramirez says, I don't need any of this. Just like that. Gave him a left hook and down. Anderson went down. And they had a hard time getting him up too. He got up and his legs were shaking.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
yeah, where am I? I guess he saw little birds flying around his head and stuff.
Oh
And
my gosh. Wow. Well, no surprise. Kansas City is at the bottom of the barrel in that league, right? So,
yeah, I don't know, Kansas City. Maybe next year.
maybe next year.
Yeah,
And then in the
yeah,
American League West, no surprise there. Texas is still on top, followed by Houston.
yeah. We're going to get to see that August 27th game. That's Texas is going to be in town. We're going to see Texas play the Minnesota Twins, so it'll be a battle of first place between the
Wow.
two divisions.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, that
so
will be
that's going to be a
definitely a
good
good
game.
game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's 70 degree weather up there.
Yeah. You won't be sweating, that's for sure.
Yeah,
At
yeah,
least not as much. And then, of course, you've
yeah.
got Seattle in third, followed by the Angels and Oakland
Well, you got
last.
Houston in there. Houston, they're
Houston.
coming back.
Yeah.
They got a good chance of knocking Texas out,
Yeah.
but this might be Texas' year. So Houston's got some injury problems. Some of their main players went down.
Right.
Seattle, they're back a ways. Cardinals played them about a week ago. I wasn't too impressed with Seattle.
Yeah. And then LA Angels and Oakland are at the bottom there of that league.
Yeah, they've got the Angels have got some injury problems. Mike Trout, he went out. He's on a rehab assignment, but it looks like he's going to be coming back in about a couple of days, 2 or 3 days. They got him down in their top minor league team, trying to get his timing back, and so I think he'll be back. Otani, he's going to miss a start as a pitcher
Mm-hmm.
because of his arm. Something's wrong with his arm or something. So
Mm-hmm.
they're going to lay him out a start, but I think he can still hit. And he's on track for the Triple Crown, which is the most home runs, RBIs, and average in the American League.
Mm. Wow.
Plus plus pitching too.
Yeah.
Okay, and so you know,
All right. And now in the National League East,
uh,
no surprise there.
Atlanta's
Atlanta's.
Atlanta's running away with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ronald Acuna Jr. He's having just a career year. He was out last year with an injury, and he's come back, and this year, and he's running like crazy. Who would ever think the stolen base would come back in baseball? Which
Yeah.
I'm glad to see.
Yeah.
But he's stealing bases. He can hit. Yeah, he's just a good ball player all around. So he'll. They got Atlanta's had some pitchers go down, but somehow the Atlanta, they always find a pitcher somewhere,
Right.
and they'll be in a that they pretty much they got a comfortable lead.
Yeah. And
You
of
know,
course, you've got Philly right behind them. But
yeah, they're battling. They're battling. For a wild card slot
yeah.
with Miami.
Yeah.
They've got a pretty good chance of hitting the wild card. Man, that's what they did last year. They went to the World Series.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
so I'm
then,
surprised that they didn't make a. I'm surprised the Phillies didn't make a huge trade. When around the trading deadline,
right.
because there were some people out there, but some first basemen out there, but they got Bryce on first base, so maybe they're just going to leave him on there because
Right.
their first baseman went down in spring training out for the
Right.
year, and so they've struggled there, but yeah, but you know, Miami, Skip Schumacher, ex Cardinal, all time favorite, bench coach for the Cardinals and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Second baseman, center field. He's doing a good job managing the Miami team. They got some good hitters on that team. They got that second baseman that he's tailed off now, but he won the batting championship last year, so in the
Right.
American League. So I look for Miami and Philly to get into it on the wild card. Maybe that another wild card slots open up.
Right. And then you've got the Mets and the Nationals down at the bottom of that league.
Well, what can you say about the Mets? They're having a terrible year, and
Also,
you know,
both New York teams are horrible. You know.
really,
Yeah.
yeah.
Then, of course, in the National League Central, you've got the Milwaukee Twins, right, on top.
You got Milwaukee. You got the Milwaukee Brewers on,
Is it the
top
Brewers?
there, Brew Crew.
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah,
the
Brewers.
Brewers.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
Brew
Um,
Crew.
I got, I get,
Bob Euchre's
I get
Bob
Milwaukee and
Euchre's team.
Minnesota mixed there. Chicago
Kind of the same
Cubs.
area.
Same.
Cubs are
Well,
only 2.5 games back.
I know. Look at that. Look at that.
Yep.
Yeah, they seem to be a little
Who?
bit on fire there.
That's got to be the surprise of the year right there. The Cubs being that close.
Yeah.
Okay, and Cincinnati's not that far away, so it's going to be a battle between Cincinnati and the Cubs. Cincinnati's, that shortstop they got, his name is De Vega. I
Yeah.
think his name Jose. Yeah, yeah, he's been a spark plug, and Joey Votto, he's back. He's not the Joey Votto as 5 years ago, but he's a good leader.
Yeah.
And this will probably be Joey Votto's last year in
Yeah.
Cincinnati, and it should be interesting.
And then you've got Pittsburgh and of course your Redbirds there at the bottom there.
Redbirds, man, God, what can I say about the Redbirds? Just a bad year, and their general manager gives all kinds of excuses. I mean, he says, "Well, there's no excuse." But I know I do. I thought it was kind of funny, is it on the trading deadline, and he says, his press conference, he says, "Well, you know, I've got to say something I thought I would never say with this organization, you know."
Yeah.
And he was saying, how bad the year was and all that kind of stuff, and it was just, he said he was always, at this time of year, he was always interested in being a buyer instead of a seller.
Yeah.
But he just come out and, basically said he was going to sell this year.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
you know, and I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in St. Louis in the postseason because, we need some pitching and, uh, I I don't think there's much money in RV restaurants right now.
All right. And then the National League West, the LA Dodgers are on first place.
L.A. Dodgers. Yep. Freeman's out.
Yeah.
Their slugger first baseman, he's out for a little bit with an injury. I think he'll probably be back. And the Dodgers have a tendency to um, they always find somebody. They've got a couple ball players on that team that can play first base,
Yeah.
so it's not a big deal. They're just going to rest him up for the playoffs,
Yeah.
But Freddie Freeman, premier ball player, Mookie Betts, um, just pretty good team all the way around. Good pitching. Kershaw, I think he's healthy again, and some other pitchers. So I think I look the Dodgers going to win that division.
Yeah. You got San Francisco right behind them and Arizona right behind San Francisco.
Yeah, it looks like San Francisco's given some distance between the Diamondbacks
Mm-hmm.
and them. So it looks like San Francisco's going to hit the wild card team.
Right.
Arizona, they had a good year. I mean, they was in first place for a long, long time, and that's still a very young team. Arizona is.
Yeah.
So they just need to fill some holes in the offseason and like some good relief pitching
Yeah.
because that seems to be their well the middle. That's where they need it the most of relief pitching, and so, but I think they'll be much better team next year.
Yeah.
San Diego, big disappointment.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Not good. And then, of course, the Rockies, they're down at the bottom.
Yeah, we played them in Colorado. We didn't. I think no. I think we played. No, we played them in St. Louis. We didn't play too good against Colorado for some reason.
Yeah.
Another loss against the Cardinals. Uh, my fan favorite is Charlie Blackman. I just looked at their injury report. I was wondering why he wasn't playing. He's the guy with all the hair. Looks like Wolfman Jack.
Right.
Been there for He's been there for 100 years. And good hitter. He was out with a fractured hand, but he's on a rehab assignment. He may be back in a week or two. But they're going to play the young guys, So I think another year rebuilding for Colorado.
Yeah.
Colorado got a slugger from the Cubs a couple of years ago, Chris Bryant,
Mm-hmm.
and Chris Bryant I think won the most valuable player when the Cubs won the World Series, I think. And he was, a big slugger,
Right.
He hasn't he's been there 2 years and he's been hurt both years.
Wow.
Okay. He signed a monster contract.
Yeah.
Hasn't done a thing. Hasn't
Wow.
done a thing.
Wow.
So I don't know what they're going to do with him. They were
Wow.
talking about that the other night.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. If he stays on or they get rid of him somehow.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All righty. Well, that pretty much wraps up a week in the league. Anything else that you've got in mind here?
Not really. It's kind of hard to get excited about the baseball and Cardinals, and because the Cardinals is just terrible. It's bad when you're watching reruns of The Wire instead of a live game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And most of the time anymore, I just have the MLB app has a thing has picture in picture.
Right.
So you can watch a movie or something while you're watching the game, right?
Right.
Yeah, and I have it on that way. That's why I keep up to date. But the oh god, the relief pitching for the Cardinals, the middle inning, the starters do okay. They get us up to about the sixth or seventh inning, and they bring in the relief pitchers, and they're just terrible. It's
Yeah.
just terrible, and it's nice watching. Arenado.
Yeah.
Okay, he is just like a magician at third base. I mean, he made a play last night when the game was on the line in the ninth inning
Yeah.
and turned into a double play that was just unbelievable. Okay. He is probably, maybe, he might be better than Brooks Robinson defensively. And as good as hitter as Mike Schmidt.
Right.
Okay. I mean, he is just, and he's getting paid a lot of money. He's getting, 26 million a year, but
No
he's
chump
well
change.
worth it. He's well worth, and he started out with Colorado Rockies.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, and the Cardinals made a super trade with Colorado Rockies, and the Rockies wanted to get out of that contract, and they ended up paying for Arenado's contract for like the first year or two,
Wow.
so they could
Incredible.
get out of it because they gave him just a ton of money, and I guess they had ownership changed their mind about him, so they traded him. And the Cardinals wanted a third baseman, so they made the deal. And the Colorado's got I don't know 4 or 5 ball players for Arenado, and they're all gone. All the
Wow.
ones on that trade, they're all gone. In three
Yeah.
years, 4 years, So is it? Baseball's like that. You think you're making a good trade, and really, it's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so I still follow it. But I mean, like last night I was out riding my e-bike, and
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast about an old movie that was made in 1944 called Hail the Conquering Hero, that I listened to. This old podcast, they talk about old movies,
Right.
and I ignored the game on my on that
Yeah.
until that podcast was over with. So
Yeah.
But I mean, it'll start coming. I'm looking forward to the Minnesota game,
Yeah.
August
Yeah.
27th. That's going to be good. And I wish I could take Jace to the Cardinal game in St. Louis.
Right.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
But hey, what can I say?
Yeah. Yeah.
But as things go on, though, I think they get the kids after the game, since it's Kids Day, they get to run the bases out on the field.
Right.
Okay, and there's some kid stuff there, so I think it's going to be a good day.
Yeah.
So I think that'd be good. And um, we're trying to find some Cardinal gear for him, but
Yeah.
tell you the truth, there's really not much Cardinal gear left. I mean, like we can't afford a jersey,
Right.
and he's just a kid anyway. So
Right.
just get him a T-shirt, and I'd like to get him a T-shirt that says Jordan Walker.
Yeah.
Jordan, he's a rookie, and for the Cardinals, but they don't have any of those left. And
Wow.
I think there's Mason Wynn. He's down in Memphis. He's a rookie, and we saw him play and Walker last year in Corpus Christi
Hmm.
when they with the when the baby Cardinals were down there,
Right.
and we got to meet Mason Wynn's parents for two
Oh
games.
wow.
Yeah, yeah, we talked to them quite a bit and stuff. Nice
Oh
couple from Houston.
yeah.
I
Wow.
think Mason Wynn will be up by at the end of the year,
Yeah.
probably in September when they expand their rosters.
Right.
And then, but they have a kid down there named Luke and Baker that's just destroying the International League down there. I mean, he's got like 33 or 34 homers and 80 RBIs,
Wow.
and he's been up to the Cardinals a couple times, but they keep on sending him back because down because you got Goldschmidt on first, right?
Right. Right.
And this kid is primarily a first baseman. He's like 6'4" and weighs 280 or 260 or something like that.
Yeah.
But he
Yeah.
gets around pretty good.
Yeah.
But you know, um, and I think some of the teams like the Astros, they'll start making a move in September.
Right. Right.
And Atlanta's going to be in there no matter what.
Yeah.
And the Dodgers are going to be there no matter what.
Yeah.
But Cincinnati and the Cubs, that's an interesting situation there.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what
Yeah.
happens there.
Yeah, and I
All right.
think the Twins will probably end up winning their division.
Yeah.
Okay, and I look for Baltimore to win theirs.
Yeah.
Baltimore's got a. There's a couple teams out there having ballpark problems now.
Right.
Yeah, their leases are up on their stadiums, and they're wanting a better deal, so they say, hey, we're going to move. And
Wow.
one of the cities they're saying is Salt Lake City.
Wow. Utah.
Yeah, yeah, Salt Lake City and Raleigh, North Carolina. I don't think Atlanta will ever go for that. And but Baltimore, they got Camden Fields, and Camden Fields has been like the benchmark for all these new stadiums because
Right.
it's when they built the stadium, they built it like it was. It's got the warehouse in the back, and it looks like it's from the 1930s. Okay,
Right.
okay, with all the modern conveniences, and
Right.
it's a nice ballpark. Okay. Well, they say they're going to move because they're not getting a good enough deal on the parking and all that stuff on the lease arrangement stuff. They
Wow.
may be moving. Just another ploy. And I saw the other day that Milwaukee even is thinking about moving
Oh
to Salt
wow.
Lake City. Yeah, because they say they're not getting a good enough deal. This is a common ploy because what happens is that the cities they drag their feet
Right.
on these contracts because they don't
Right.
want to spend the money
Right.
and stuff. And so they say, well, negotiate with us. We're going to move.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's always somebody out there that wants something.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's cities out there
Yeah.
dying to have some kind of team. Yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Oakland, they're like, they can't make up their mind what the hell they want to do.
If they want to go
Once,
over to Las
some
Vegas.
Vegas or they don't know they don't know what they're going. The other day I heard they may be going to Portland,
Oh
you
wow.
know.
It's a little
Yeah.
cold up there.
Yeah. But who knows? But I would say the A's will probably end up going to Vegas.
Yeah.
And I think Salt Lake City may be an expansion team. And Tampa Bay, they're saying they want to leave too.
Wow.
Okay,
Wow.
yeah, yeah, but they always say that down there.
Yeah.
But see, when the Cardinals played them last week, honestly, there was more, and the Cardinal announcer said that there was Chip Carey said this is that there was more red, meaning Cardinal fans in the stands, than there was Tampa Bay fans,
Wow,
and they had
that's
like they had like 11,000 people there,
wow.
10 or 11,000, at a Tampa Bay team that's only in second place. I mean, they're playing decent baseball,
Yeah.
and they're in second place, and the Cardinals. You could see all the fans, and they all had Cardinal gear on.
Wow.
Okay,
Wow.
because the Cardinals spring training camp is in Juniper, and that's pretty close by, right?
Ah,
And so
okay.
there's a lot of winter. There's a lot of retirees and stuff like that
A lot
live
of
down in
snowbirds.
June.
A lot of
Yeah,
snowbirds.
yeah, there's a lot of snow, and so in Tampa Bay has never drawn well.
Yeah.
And they have an indoor stadium. It's not the best in the world, but Florida, it rains. It rains in the
A
morning.
lot.
Okay, and then it clears up at night. In the
Yeah.
afternoon, right?
Yeah.
And they just they and but they say the parking there really sucks. And it's really a hard stadium getting in and out.
Uh, wow.
They
Well,
said
that's
that
big.
about Atlanta, and Atlanta built them a new ballpark.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know, but
All
it's
right.
amazing though how Chavez Ravine or the Dodger Stadium, that thing is the third oldest ballpark in baseball.
Uh huh.
Okay, behind Fenway and Wrigley Field, right?
Right.
And Dodger Stadium is. And I've been to Dodger Stadium when I lived in California. I've been there many, many times. And you would think with all the traffic in LA, that would be a hard place getting in and out of. It's not.
Wow.
With how they built it on top of a hill. They called it Chavez Ravine.
Yeah.
And they, they right in the middle of three freeways.
Wow.
So you come out, you can go on the 5, you can go to the 60, or you can go down over to I think it's the 14, I think it is.
Wow.
So you come out, you can go either way you want to go, you can
Well,
go.
that's pretty convenient. Somebody really
And the
thought about it.
parking's and the parking's good too. You
Wow.
can park really. There's no stadium garage there or anything like
Yeah.
that. Like there is in St. Louis and stuff. So
Right.
you just park out, and then you just walk right in, and it's
Wow.
good, and they keep it up really well.
Yeah.
Chavez Ravine. So
Yeah. Wow.
but it's all about all the amenities. They want that. Back in the day, they just wanted to put seats in the stands. Okay, now they want the concessions, and then they want the parking,
Right.
and then they want a ballpark village around the place.
Right.
Okay, and if the teams aren't getting that, well, then we're going to move.
Wow.
We can
Wow.
go somewhere we can get that.
Yeah. More candy
So they get
elsewhere.
kind they get kind of greedy.
Yeah.
Okay, and the owners, I don't know if you know this or Danny, but the owners are, they get, long, long time ago, around the turn of the century, like 1914, 1915, something like that. They put them up for the Taft Hartley Act, having a monopoly, right?
Right.
Okay, and Congress ruled that baseball was exempt from the Taft-Hartley Act.
Oh wow.
That's the reason why they've never had to open up their books or anything.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
after all these years.
Wow.
Okay, and they were protected by that's the reason why years later in 1970, Kurt Flood had to take him to the Supreme Court because the Cardinals traded him away to Philadelphia after 10 years, and he said he was a well-paid slave. He
Wow.
should, after 10 years in the majors, he should be able to go where he wants to do. Baseball was protected by the Taft-Hartley Act. They had
Wow.
complete control. Well,
Wow.
that got over. Eventually, Flood lost the case, but years later, it got overturned by the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Wow.
the owners have always had, you know, per se, and the owners, they always, oh, we're so poor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Man, oh
yeah,
man. All righty,
yeah.
Doug. Well, that wraps up this week in the MLB. We've got an exciting week coming up. On Thursday, we're going to have a preview of the Republican presidential candidates on Live 270. As you know, the first Republican presidential debate is the following week on the 23rd. So we'll be doing
And
an
I guess I,
in depth
I guess Trump is.
analysis.
Yeah, I guess Trump's going to. I heard this morning that Trump's going to decide if he's going to attend. I always thought everybody says he's stupid if he goes.
Right.
Okay, but I guess he's going to make a decision the next day or two,
Yeah,
next couple of days or
he's
something.
kind of playing the flower petal girl. He loves
Oh
me, he
yeah,
loves me not. He loves me, he loves me not.
yeah, and he likes that limelight so much.
I know. I would
Okay.
be very, very surprised if he skipped it. But, it looks like Chris Christie is just eager to debate him.
Oh yeah, Chris Christie wants to come after him with a vengeance, and all 500 pounds of him or 400 pounds of him.
Well,
But
he did have that
you know,
bariatric surgery a while back. It didn't work, but
didn't work, didn't work too good. Didn't
no,
work too good. Him and I guess him and Jerry Nadler must have went to the same doctor, huh?
probably. Yeah.
Jerry Nadler is right.
I think so. I don't remember.
Yeah, he's a congressman from. He's a Democratic congressman from. I
Oh
think he's from
yeah.
Connecticut.
Yeah.
Okay, and he was one of the ones who were after Trump. Oh,
Ah.
yeah, he's far left. He's with that crowd with Adam Schiff and
Yeah.
Pelosi and
AOC.
you know AOC. I don't think AOC. AOC's been kind of over the other side here lately. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. She's behaving
she plays
herself.
the she plays the fiddle. She's getting to be a career politician.
Yeah.
But I don't know what she's going to do now since they canceled the View.
Yeah.
Because O'Reilly always said that her ambition is to be on the View.
On the
Okay, be
View.
one of the hosts on the View.
Well,
Yeah, when
well,
she gets out of politics, man.
she's kind of funny because she comes out on TV bad mouthing Elon Musk at every turn, but she doesn't want to give up her Tesla. She loves her Tesla.
Yeah, she loves her Tesla. And YouTube has, and you've probably seen it called Lab Padre. It does, every week it has what's happened at SpaceX, right?
Right. Right.
And they show what's going on. Man, there's a lot of stuff going out of Boca Chica Beach,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and there's a lot of stuff going in Cape Canaveral.
Yeah. Well,
Okay,
Ted Cruz was down
and
here, I think last week at Starbase. So lots of stuff going on,
oh
that's for
really?
sure. Yeah, he was down
I mean,
here.
they're just they're building that mega high bay.
Yeah.
They about ready to put the roof on that, right?
Yeah.
And then there's some more star-based production facilities. That's got to be awesome.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they rolling out Starship 30. Did I say 30? Yes, 30.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, there's a lot of construction, and there's just more and more jobs being created down there,
Oh
out there.
yeah. No doubt about it. Well, we've
Yeah.
got
Just
that coming up. We've got the Republican presidential candidates. We'll be looking at each individual on
yeah,
Thursday.
the just to interrupt you for a second, I kind of like Vivek. See if I can pronounce his last name. What's a Swami?
Is
Is that
that
my
the Indian?
close?
Yeah, is that the Indian guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know much about him. Yeah, at least not
I
yet.
don't think he's ever going to. He has a lot of good things to say. I don't think he's got a ghost of a chance of winning. Might be a vice presidential candidate.
Yeah, yeah.
But
What?
the only thing they can say is that Pence is the one that's going to sink Trump or not
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah,
when it comes
in more ways than one.
more ways than one. If all this stuff goes to court, Pence can say, yeah, he knew about it.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
I think
he,
the biggest threat to Trump is really the stuff going on in Georgia. That's really. I was reading an article this morning, and I was a little bit in shock at some of the accusations, especially when it involved Giuliani and a few of his other attorneys and what they were trying to get access to or they got access to. That was kind of weird, but who knows? We'll see what
yeah,
happens.
and there's a lot of people, like that took the hit for Trump on that deal. Is like the pillow guy, Mike
Yeah,
Lindell.
the
His
Mike
business,
Pillow
his
guy.
business is cratered. He, he's doing all kinds of stuff to sell pillows and
Yeah.
house slippers and pillow sheets and just all kinds of stuff, and he had to auction off a bunch of stuff in his factories, in order to
Oh
meet
gosh.
payroll and stuff. And they nobody will advertise for him anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, Glenn Beck does, but he just talk radio, but you
Right.
know, but and none of the home shopping networks will take Lindell anymore.
Right.
And so he took a hit.
Yeah.
Lindell really took a
Definitely.
hit.
Definitely. Well, we've got
And
that
then
coming.
now
Yeah.
now RFK, he's still in there.
Yeah. He's
He's still
still in there
going
too.
strong.
Yeah, I know. Well, we've got that scheduled for Thursday, and then of course Friday we've got another edition of the Spin Zone. Where we'll look at the pregame show with Seattle. The Cowboys are headed over to Seattle. As you know, they lost this weekend. So they're headed over to Seattle, and we'll see how that one goes. So we've got those two shows coming up, and that's it for the lineup this week, per se. I'm trying to kind of load up my calendar as much as I have. So um, that's pretty much the only two broadcasts we have, unless SpaceX decides to launch something from the east or the west coast. So we'll see what happens here for the week.
What's the date on the next launch, Danny? Do you know?
Oh, for the Starship launch, well, a lot of it
Yeah.
depends on the FAA. It really comes down to the FAA and whether they're going to let them launch or not. So right now the calendar looks anywhere between now and December, the in December primarily.
Oh,
So
that late, huh?
yeah, unless the
I guess you
FAA.
saw Virgin. You saw Virgin the other day. They did their little toy they put up there, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
All righty, Doug. Well, that's it for this week. Go enjoy the pool. I know you've been dying to get out there.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
go
try to go.
out. Plan on hitting the pool and for about an hour, and then by that time it'll probably about 6 o'clock or 6:30. Then I'll probably get on the e-bike and
Yeah,
pedal
that,
out here in Rancho and
yeah. Well, that'd be cool.
use my new horn I got.
Yeah, cool. All righty,
Yeah.
Doug. Well, you have a good Sunday, what's left of it, and we will see you next week, and we'll see what happens this coming week with regards to the MLB. Have a good weekend, everybody. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye, everybody.